Hello, I'm Beth Berry. I'm Vice President of Business Development for Real Green Systems. I am broadcasting live from Indianapolis, Indiana today. I am thrilled to have with me my guest, Cindy Code. Cindy's from Project EverGreen, longtime green industry friend. Thanks for being here today, Cindy. I had to switch to my family room so I could be near the Wi-Fi, I guess. It's just one of the things we do. Thanks for having virtual coffee with me yesterday. It's great to still stay in touch with our friends, even if it is virtually. So give us some background on yourself and then tell us about Project Evergreen.
Well, thanks for having me on today, Beth. I really appreciate it. I'm working from home, live from Cleveland, Ohio, so not too far from Indianapolis. But I've been lucky enough to work in the landscape industry, the lawn and landscape industry, for quite a long time. I spent the first 20 years of my career as a journalist and communication professional with Lawn and Landscape magazine. And for about 10 years now, I've been the executive director of Project Evergreen. And many people don't realize it, but Project Evergreen has been around since 2003. It was started as kind of a PR initiative for the green industry to really share the feel-good side of the industry, the great benefits of everything that green spaces bring to communities. We wanted to share that message with people outside the industry, people who don't realize the many benefits and the contributions that green spaces make to communities. So as a national nonprofit, Project Evergreen's mission is bringing people together to make a difference in how our yards, parks, and communities create a greener, cooler, healthier earth. And we bring that mission to life through two key national programs. I think most people are familiar with Green Care for Troops. And we also have a program called Green Care for Communities, which represents our park revitalization work. So I'm looking forward to talking more about those programs today and how folks can get involved.
So my firsthand experience is the Green Care for Communities. You and I were at the Site One Women's event in Tucson, and I learned how to install sprinkler heads and irrigation systems. And the best part of the day was when the Parks and Recreation Director took us over near where the park's restrooms were, and they're very similar to every other public park I'd ever been in. And he said, that is where the main is for the water system, and we have to shut that down when we do the work. And he said, the biggest problem we have in Tucson is that the rattlesnakes like to nest up there. So you can never just stick your hand into the box and turn it on. That was very interesting that day, but it was so much fun to be there together as a green community, hands-on, improving that space for the local community. And I know they interviewed you on the local news, but that must be so gratifying for you to see these communities come to life. Tell us what you have on tap so far for 2020, and will the COVID crisis impact any of the community work you have planned?
Yeah, these projects are really wonderful initiatives, and I'm lucky that we just get to manage them. Really, the lawn and landscape industry has a long history of giving back to communities, very generous with their time and their resources. And what Project Evergreen brings is the project identification, the project oversight, the project management, making it possible for all of the right people and materials and everything to come together at one time. So that's one of our key initiatives that we do. And we generally do about 6 projects a year. It often varies in size and scope, but we're continuing some key projects in Detroit and New York City and Cleveland. And we're doing some other projects in conjunction with some partners in Denver and in Baltimore. And earlier this year, before the COVID crisis started, we were lucky enough to complete one project in West Palm Beach. And we did that in conjunction with the Sports Turf Managers Association, who held their annual conference there. We completely revitalized a city baseball field in that community. And one of the key things that we look for in projects is first and foremost is our ability to bring people together. One of the challenges that many cities all across the country have is resources and bandwidth, and the ability to get things done. But there's no shortage of desire among cities or local businesses or community members. So when we select our projects, we really work with the local community to see what their needs are. So from a city perspective, but also from a community perspective, the neighborhood, the people and families who are going to benefit, who use that park and who are going to benefit from the improvements there. And the city cooperation is so very important from a long-term sustainability perspective. I mean, nobody wants to spend their time and their energy revitalizing a park just to have it fall back into disarray. So, we're fortunate to have very generous, willing, and participants who really want to make a difference in their communities. And the projects that we have on tap, New York City, we were going to work, we've been there for about 5 years, working with the New York City Parks Department and their Green Thumb division, and really creating healthy local pocket parks or neighborhood gardens where people can gather. And New York City is a perfect example of the need for green space and the need for respite from the heat of the city. And our heart really goes out to the residents, everybody in New York City, the first line responders, and everybody who is caring for the people sick with the coronavirus. So, we think about them every day and pray that that this will be under control sooner than later. But we are in close contact with our connections, our partners in New York City, and we will complete that project work probably later this year. We're just kind of on hold right now, waiting to see when the timing is right. And the same with our projects in Detroit and Cleveland. A lot of that work was planned for late summer or the fall, particularly when planting and overseeding and services of that nature are good to accomplish that time of year. And when our partners, our landscape and lawn care professionals, are available to work with us. So we're still planning very much to complete all of our project work that we have planned for this year. And we're being sensitive to the needs of the cities and the communities. But, green space year round, and particularly during this crisis that we're experiencing right now, green space has been a respite for many families in a lot of different ways. And I guess we'll get into that at some point today. But, it's green space is needed more than ever. And of course, with safe social distancing. But we're fortunate that we're able to bring this project work to communities. And when I sound like the airlines, but when they're ready for us, we'll be ready for them. So we're very hopeful that we'll still be able to accomplish our goals for this year.
New York City, I have been following Jim Gaffigan, the comedian who lives right in the heart of New York City. And you think about isolation and how important the green spaces are. And in New York City, the times that I have been there, there's Central Park. And then what else is there? What green space were you planning on accommodating?
Well, they're local community parks and gardens. So lots of neighborhoods in all 5 boroughs. There's garden clubs and neighborhood groups that are in charge of maintaining these pocket parks. And they really are pocket parks because they're kind of tucked, in between, sometimes they're corner lots or tucked in between 2 buildings. So, they really are great little respites, that a lot of people are, there's a lot of foot traffic, a lot of bike traffic, a lot of traffic in general in New York City. But these little pocket parks are just like, an oasis in the middle of the city. And when you're there, on a hot sunny day, or really, any time of year, people are attracted or drawn to those pocket parks. And the garden clubs are responsible for maintaining them. But they all take different shapes and sizes and different needs. Some have more grass than others. gardens, vegetable gardens and fruit gardens are very popular in those pocket parks as kind of a corner of it, because there isn't a lot of there aren't a lot of places in New York City where you can grow or have your own vegetable garden. And it's really important too for people from an educational perspective. When we create these vegetable or fruit gardens, we help our volunteer professionals who are planting them, working side by side with our volunteers. We talk about how those vegetables are grown and how you need to fertilize them, how you need to care for them to make sure that they grow successfully. So education, whether it's planting trees or planting grass or planting vegetables, just sharing that professional knowledge with the community and even city workers, is an important part of our mission as well.
When I was at Scott's Miracle Grow, we had urban gardens that you could order, and it might be you could grow a salad on your patio, but that was very popular there. Tell me, and I know you have a very slim staff at Project Evergreen. You and Vince and the board members work very hard to make these projects happen, and it requires much orchestration in terms of suppliers, events. How do you determine what would make a good project, and how do you pursue those?
Well, we have a project committee. Our board, we have about 15 people on our board. They're all over the country. It's a volunteer board. They're very generous with their time, so we need their help. In addition to, we have 4 people on staff. Vince, our development director, and we have Kai and Nikki, who are in charge of Green Care for Troops and Snow Care for Troops. But we really look for projects that will make an immediate difference in the neighborhoods, and where we know we have our partners. So whether our partners are suppliers or professional contractors, that's an important criteria. And an active local community group, a neighborhood group, who they're active in their community, who want to participate and make a difference. A lot of parks that have fallen into disarray have disrupted neighborhoods across our country. A lot of it since the financial crisis in 2009, 2008 and 9. And, we've seen, before our current crisis, we've seen a lot of money going back into downtowns, but the neighborhoods are left behind. So we tried to focus on those neighborhoods who need our assistance to revitalize, their neighborhoods in conjunction with the cities in which they live. So, when a park falls into disarray, the negative impact it has on the community is it's not just an eyesore because the park's not taken care of, but it really changes the dynamics of how people feel about themselves and their neighborhood and their the confidence that they have in the city in which they live. So because our resources and our bandwidth is so small, we've really tried to pick those parks that make a difference, fit our criteria, but that can make an immediate difference. So we can really show how our work can pay immediate dividends. So kind of a long way of answering your question.
No,
but
that was great.
we want. Yeah.
We appreciate, of course, Real Green is based outside of Detroit, and we really appreciate the work you've done in that area for those communities. And we've been able to see the sustainable actions after the appreciation from the community after that was done. When you completed those projects, just to see more and more kids out there, that had to make you feel so good.
Yeah, when we started working in Detroit maybe 3 years ago, we visited, we worked with the city to identify a park, and we took a tour of about 8 or 10 areas that needed some help, and we came across this. It was called Pingree Park. It's an 18-acre park, and we just knew when we saw this park that it's kind of like an aha moment. The neighborhood, the park was deserted, and really there was nobody in the neighborhood. But you could see we understood, the city shared the historic value or nature of that park, and we could just see what an immediate difference that, could happen there. And, even a year later, we'd go back after our work, and we'd go back and do more work on the park or check in with the neighbors. And it was night and day. There was nobody the first year. And then there was, soccer and baseball, and there was a dance team who was using the park to practice their routines. But the neighbors would come out of their houses, and we really got to know the folks who live there because they were very involved in the process. And it's just it's amazing today to go back and see the property values have increased, and the park is full of kids and families. We built, with the help of Troy Clogg Landscape in Detroit, was a wonderful partner, and we built a new pathway. So that immediately through half of the park, and that immediately, brings people out, whether they're with strollers or with dogs or just walking or running on that path. It's a little over a mile path, but it really, instead of people, staying around the perimeter of the park, it really draws people into the park. And then, they can really enjoy the shade of the trees and, picnics and things of that nature. So yeah, it's one of our very wonderful projects.
That's very cool. We are so fortunate because our industry is deemed CISA.gov Homeland Security Essential in 49 states, but we're coming for you, Michigan. But right now is a very busy time, and I've seen a lot of our customers and friends in the green industry out and about. Do you know what's going on in Cleveland? Are folks able to take their families to a park if they're socially distanced, or do you have the parks closed down there?
No, parks are open. Parks are open in Cleveland and Ohio. The playground equipment is closed. They don't want anybody using the playground equipment. But all of the bike paths and, we're fortunate to have in Cleveland quite extensive metro park system. So they're all open with safe social distancing. And golf courses, for the most part, are open here with safe practices as well. So it's really, I haven't been out much, but when I am outside, walking my dog or trying to take a break during the day, it's just amazing to see people. I think some people for the first time really using those local resources, and really, they have smiles on their faces. I think finally dawning on them, oh my gosh, these are wonderful parks or bike paths or walkways, to take advantage of, and the difference it could make, I think now more than ever, the mental, the difference it makes mentally. I know in my case, you're stuck inside all day. We all have those moments where we're, get a little depressed or get down or wonder what's going to happen with our circumstances. But you go outside and you can just see that I like to say that aha moment. You can just see the stress, or, momentarily the stress or the weight on their shoulders, get lifted. And it's a difference maker.
That's very cool. So let's shift to the work that you're doing with our troops. Tell us about that in our military.
Yeah, Green Care for Troops is a great program that's been around since 2006. We added Snow Care for Troops in 2010, but they're wonderful programs nationwide where we connect lawn and landscape professionals with military families, active duty, deployed military families, to take care of their lawns and landscapes while they're away from home. So we've been very fortunate to work with military families all across the country, and our landscape volunteers are really very generous with taking care of a family. And when a volunteer signs up, the way the program works is we have a database that an online registration process. Military families register and they select the services. We have a drop-down list. You select the services that they need, like mowing and fertilization and weed control, fertilization, things of those nature. And their address and everything is in there. And then a volunteer registers, and a volunteer can say, I'll help one family or two families or more. We have some volunteers who are helping 10 families. And the distance that those professionals are willing to travel and the services that they can offer. And then the match is made. When the criteria matches up, that match is made. So our volunteers take care of the family for typically 9 months, sometimes 12 months, while those deployments take place. And I mean, there's such a big connection between the landscape industry and the military. You talk to landscape contractors all across the country, and they were in the military, or they have a brother in the military, or an uncle or a dad, or there's a lot of appreciation for what the military does for us. And what a great way for volunteers to give back to our military heroes, taking care of a yard or a landscape while, someone is deployed overseas or now deployed in the U.S. with our COVID crisis. But it's a win-win for the military and for the volunteers. And we need volunteers all the time. We have, because it's nationwide, we have some areas where we have more volunteers than families. Other areas we have more families than volunteers. So we're always recruiting. We're always recruiting for new volunteers to help out. And recently, we came up with an idea. We really would like, we love giving back. And we were trying to think of how we could help the healthcare workers, those first line responders. And there are millions of them across the country. So we wanted to do our part in helping, just a few of them if we can. So we thought about it, and then we reached out to our volunteers. We have some volunteers who are not matched. We have other volunteers who are matched, but they have more capacity. So we thought, wouldn't it be great if our volunteers could look around their communities? I think we all know some healthcare workers or nurses or ambulance drivers or paramedics, people who are really, working 24/7 to help us with this pandemic. And so we reached out to see if they would help us identify a healthcare worker in their community in need. And, we're leaving it in the hands of our volunteers to help as many as possible. And we're asking our volunteers to, once you've identified that person or those people, to let us know who they are. And then we'll make that manual match into our database. And the response has been amazing. There's, volunteers, they want to help. They want a great idea. We're trying to find someone in our community to help. They've posted on their social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. They've posted their participation in the program. And we're beginning to hear from our volunteers that they've been matched. So, we're looking forward to sharing their stories, here shortly. But, it's seemingly a small thing that we as the green industry can do. But, even though we've all been staying home, the grass hasn't stopped growing and the trees, haven't stopped. So the need for landscape services, as we've discussed, is essential in so many ways. And this is, one way that the industry can show, above and beyond the work done, day in and day out. But another way that landscape and yard work can be considered, essential because, it needs to be done.
I love this. So I'm working with Michigan Nursery and Landscape Association, Amy Upton, and she received an inquiry this week from a nurse who works in the Beaumont Hospital System in Detroit and has reached out to MNLA and said, can you please identify someone that can come mow my grass? Because the individual I've contracted says they're not essential, and I'm a nurse working 7 days a week. Can someone please come help? Of course, in Michigan, there is no one we can send to help and do that, but it really illustrated to all of us just the personal implications of suddenly you're a first responder, and I'm the mother of a first responder. My son's a firefighter in a suburb of Indianapolis. We have a very dear friend that's an emergency room doctor at Cook County in Chicago, Ryan Deskamp. These guys are working 12 to 18 hours a day, round the clock, in ways that almost look like a Stephen King movie. And then to come home and think about the burdens of home care at this time have been very taxing to them. So that is a fabulous initiative. I love that you guys did that. Faith, hold on, I got it. I'm an ugly sneezer, so Faith will have to edit that out.
Bless you.
Thank you for that. Okay, Faith. So I love that you came up with that initiative. Is this technically part of Green Care for Troops? Is that how you're deploying it through your network?
It is, and there's information on our website. We're calling it Green Care for Troops, Cares for Our Healthcare Heroes. And we've even come out with kind of a modification of our Green Care for Troops logo that talks about the healthcare heroes that we want to help and support. And we've even extended it to a lot of military is active duty military is deployed here in the U.S. And I had a match early on, the one deployment that took a gentleman to the Navy ship, the Comfort in New York City.
Oh,
The
no
one that's
way.
stuck there. So one of our volunteers is taking care of his family's property while he's on the ship off New York City. So, there are
Oh,
so
Cindy, that's
many different
so
ways,
cool. That is so cool.
right? Right. And, the maintenance needs are great, obviously, to take care of those properties. But, I saw on the news the other day, they show healthcare workers, going outside for a breath of fresh air. And I saw one nurse, exhausted, she laid down on the grass outside of the hospital. And, you can just see her shoulders relax. But it's just like, that's what healthy grass and yards and landscapes can do for you. So if you come home after 18 hours or, your kids are at home, it's just, going outside into a healthy, maintained yard is a huge stress reliever, and it provides safe playing areas for kids, kids and dogs outside. So it's just, the feel good side of the industry, and just the visible recognition that you see people, the stress and the relief and the exhaustion just momentarily going away when your toes are in the grass, or you're laying in the grass, or you feel the cool breeze from the shade of a tree. I mean, that's just we all need that, whether it's 5 minutes or an hour, but that momentary relief is something that's paying huge dividends, now more than ever.
I think that what has happened there's a punctuation on the outdoor living room. You're going to take advantage of it a lot more than you used to, because technically you're still quarantined. We have, and
Mm-hmm.
I live on a little lake on the north side of Indianapolis, and we have a happy hour get together on Wednesday or Thursday nights where we're about 10 feet apart on a patio with a bring your own beverage. But it's so meaningful just to be outside and see a friend a few feet away. And boy, you
Mm-hmm.
sure are not going to take for granted the types of opportunities that we've had in the past. But the outdoor living room, just to share a little more about that, I follow a group of technologists in Indianapolis called High Alpha, and they provided a survey last week on online retail, e-commerce, and which areas of e-commerce are suffering. So luxury goods, like jewelry, high-end cosmetic products or cosmetic surgeries, things that obviously are not deemed essential. And even in a time of recession, maybe you're not going to pay for them. But the one area that they really spent a lot of time talking about was the acceleration of outdoor furniture, outdoor gardening,
Mm-hmm.
and how that area has really taken off, because it's the more and more people are taking staycations, whether they want to or not. And if you're going to be
Right.
stuck in your backyard, you want that little fire pit. You want to be able to ensure that you have patio furniture so that your family can eat outside every day. So I think that's great for us as a green industry, that we know people are settling in, hunkering down, but they're doing it in the green spaces that they can go to.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And my husband and I we call it our quarantine gift. And we bought from Home Depot a little propane generated fire pit. So you can just walk out onto the deck and start it
Too.
up. So, yeah, so that's our quarantine gift to ourselves.
I
But,
bought
I hope.
a gift, and I bought a gas grill so that I can actually cook out now.
Very good. But I also wanted to mention that, along with our Green Care for Troops cares for our healthcare heroes, this week is National Volunteer Week. So we sent out an email to all of our volunteers. We can't thank them enough for all of their support and everything that they do for us. So, I wanted to thank our volunteers again. And, what better way if you want to get involved, or if you want to volunteer, to go to, if I can put in a plug, go to projectevergreen.org. And there's a Green Care for Troops tab at the top of the page that will take you to all the information you need to register. So, we encourage folks that, if you have the capacity, to go and check it out and give back. We also know that there's, some landscape companies are, there's a hardship as far as, workers and capacity. But, if you can help one family, that would be awesome.
And let me just clarify, I've had so many of our customers talk about it after you've attended our solutions conferences before, but they're able to make seasonal commitments, correct? So we have extra capacity from May to November, but we're not going to be able to help with snow, or we have geographic constraints. So they can kind of pick and choose the areas in which they can volunteer, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. From the number of families, the distance, the services, the time of year, it's all very flexible in the hands of the volunteer. And it's to see the relationships, the many of the families that work with the volunteers. We have tons of stories, and you can read them on our website, but the bond that's developed between those families and the volunteers, they bring, cookies to the office or for the lawn or landscape company, or, send lunch for all their employees, or just communicate in the local community what a great company it is. So those relationships, those bonds, similar to the bonds that we established in the local communities for our parks projects, it's just bringing people together in a park, over a park, working in a park or a healthy yard. It's just, you just can't, I don't have enough words to describe those relationships. I also wanted to mention earlier when I was thinking about New York City is, or really it wouldn't have to be New York City, any area where, there's a lot of millennials or even empty nesters who are flocking downtown. And so you have the older generation and the younger generation living and working in the same community. And, sometimes there's a little bit of standoffishness or suspicion, but a park is a great way to bring all of those folks together. And it really, is kind of an icebreaker, to have the different generations and the different, the demographics coming together in one community. So, that's an interesting story that we also like to share, that, a park can bring down those walls and, it's kind of be an icebreaker.
Well, and it sounds like it's creating enduring relationships as well. And I love that. I can't thank you guys enough for the first responder efforts. I've noticed in Indianapolis, Starbucks gives our first responders, I'm sure that's a international project, free coffee. The local gas stations have 50 cents off a gallon for first responders and frontline medical personnel. And gas is cheap anyway. The car wash, Mike's Car Wash by my house, has free car washes. And so the ability for our industry to give back in this way is really remarkable. Thank you guys so much for considering this and making it happen.
Oh, sure. We're thrilled. We're thrilled to make it happen. And we look forward to sharing stories, success stories, and, human stories of what a difference that the industry has made. And, it's just, I think that this shines a great spotlight on the green industry. And we really can't thank lawn and landscape professionals enough, for all of their support. And in Michigan, Real Green has been a huge supporter, but, everybody is so generous and so willing to give up their time and their resources, when they can. And some folks say they can't right now, and that's fine. When you're ready to help, or if you're looking for a local volunteer project, please feel free to reach out to Project EverGreen, and, we'll help in any way we can.
So we will put the link up on Impact, www.realgreen.com/impact. We will provide all of the information for you to get in touch with Cindy if there's any way for you to help in your community. And Cindy, please send us those success stories so we can continue sharing them at Real Green. Real Green values the relationship we have with Project EverGreen. And I'm personally excited to work alongside with you. I'm always excited when I get to work with you, but to be part of the Project EverGreen board will be an honor and a privilege. And I look forward to doing very cool things with you guys this year.
We can't wait for you to get started.
How about we start in New York City? I'll meet you there next week.
Well, maybe not next week, but soon, very soon.
So what are you and your husband doing to maintain mental, uh, what's the word? Survival. And I know you're going to go pick up your son, right? So you'll have the family back together.
Yeah, he's home right now. So, sadly, he's home from college. I know springtime at college is like one of those, things that you don't want to miss. But so we all have our separate working offices in the house. So we're all cohabitating quite nicely. But yeah, we do have to go move him out of his. An interesting thing that a lot of parents are going through, we're moving him out of one apartment that we're paying for and he's not living in to another house that he'll be living in next year, but not currently. So, that dynamic of paying for all that. But, yeah, hopefully he'll be able to, all colleges will be able to return in the fall. I know there's a question about that, but no, we're spending a lot of time outside in the yard, kind of envisioning what we can do different at home to make things more fun or just kind of do those projects we don't have time for. And lots of walking the dog. I think the dog is exhausted at the end of the day because there's too many walks and too much entertainment. I've heard that dogs, are kind of getting anxious because it's just like they're overwhelmed by all of the activity. But yeah, we're doing okay. We're looking forward to warmer weather so we can get outside and have this. We had snow last night. I'm like, that's ridiculous. Let's get rid of the snow.
I saw Wayne Brockman, our customer in New York, said that they had snow there too. That's just craziness, craziness.
Yep.
Well, thank you again for your time. Thanks to everyone at Project EverGreen. We will get those links up on the impact board and report back with those stories and try to connect more people because you all do it on a very thin list of resources, and any way in which we can bring more both families and providers together to share in the success of that effort, we're happy to do it.
That'd be awesome. We appreciate that very much. And, to all those people out there who are considering it, just go ahead and make that jump or take that leap because you'll be glad that you did. You really will.
And I did not know that it was volunteer week, so we'll be pushing that as well.
Yep. Thanks to all our volunteers, kudos.
Thank you so much, Cindy, and I hope to see you soon. We're going to be at Renewal and Remembrance in DC in July, right? That's going to happen.
Is it going to happen? I've heard. I wasn't sure.
Tell me it's going to happen. Tell me there's going to be football. We're going to have Renewal and Remembrance. I need that to keep me going.
Yeah, me too. I hope so. Fingers crossed it's going to happen.
All right. Take care, friend. Thank you.
Thanks, Bev. See you soon.